Okay, so what I'm going to share today is what we do in dotPH. So actually, the platform that we're building is the rewrite of the rewrite of the rewrite of the original application. So the original application was developed around 2000, 16 years ago. It was ASP, classic ASP, not ASP.NET, with Perl as a backend. So the rewrite of that is switching from ASP to Drupal. Yeah, so that was the rewrite of the original application, but we still with the Perl backend. And then during that time, there's this standard called EPP, Extensible Provisioning Protocol. It's an RFC standard using XML. That if you register a domain, it probably uses EPP somewhere. So we had to redo the entire platform. So we tried first redoing it using CodeIgniter. Sorry, is this the Ruby meetup or the PHP meetup? Okay. So we tried doing it with they tried doing it with Yi, then CodeIgniter. Then we tried doing it with Laravel because it looks like Rails. And then 1 month into development, we go, why are we using Laravel? Why don't we just use Rails? Because we want it to be Rails-like. So we switched to using Rails at that point. We screwed it up so that we had to restart our efforts, hence what we have right now. So most of our platform is actually in Ruby already. It's running alongside the Perl code and the PHP code somewhere. So hopefully you don't notice it if you ever buy a domain from us. Okay. So it's been 3 years since we started first switching. We're doing it slowly because we have to deal with around 100,000 domains and we have to make sure they don't go down. So it's not an easy thing to do. So I'm just going to share 3 things that we really learned in the last 3 years. So just because it's 3 things for 3 years doesn't mean we learned 1 thing every year. So just want to share. To give you an idea, our platform, we call it CNAC. Diagram-wise, it's this one. Basically, we have our old system here, we have our new system there, we have a web UI over there, and then all our partners can connect to third-party services here, and everything gets published to the page. So the 3 things that we learned, number 1, is you have to fix your deployment setup. Because if you're developing something that we've developed the old system for like 2 years or 3 years, I don't remember anymore, but we never got to deploy it. So fixing your deployment early on will allow you to actually figure out that you want to deploy early and frequent. So right now we do a couple of hours development and we deploy directly to production. Hopefully nothing bad happens when we deploy new things. So we do it on a daily basis. We actually have another website for our staging, so that our configuration is the same between production and staging. So the staging website is new.ph, but you won't really be able to see anything. Second is we use specification by example heavily. So who here writes Cucumber features? All right, so so one of the problems with test-driven development, if you write tests, speaking of tests, before we thought that minute test was the way to go. So we wrote a lot of minute tests, and then we said that minute test spec seems to be a good idea, so we wrote lots of minute test spec code, and then only to realize that, we only thought that minute test was good because we didn't understand our spec. So now we're moving stuff to our spec. Like, I need to implement a new feature. It has a test in minute test, so let me spend a couple of hours rewriting it with our spec.
We're going the other way. Our spec to
yeah,
it's a circle.
It's a circle, I guess. Yeah. So, but one of the problems with writing unit tests is sometimes you get lost. Because you focus too much on the micro level. So what we do, what specification by example pretty much is you start with a specification. Start from the outside and you go in. One of the learnings here, especially with Cucumber, is we just focus on we just focus on writing it in English as much as possible. So nothing fancy. We just do. When I try to register the available domain and I provide all the details, and I set blah blah the domain will register. So we don't try to make it parameterized anymore because that's very hard to do. Okay. So we first start with writing stuff like this. Then we implement it one at a time. Steps. So something like this, if you do a get for this and then you try it. If you're building a web application using a tool like Prism, it's really helpful. Yeah. Although one of the problems that we've encountered or are encountering right now is we prefer to use RackTest instead of Selenium because Selenium is very slow. But if you use RackTest, you can't really use JavaScript. So, or something to that effect. So our views are very simple. It's ERB. It's not hipster like Angular or React, at least not yet. Okay. So, and then after we implement this, and then we start implementing the code for it. Right. So that's lesson number 2, using Cucumber specification, for example, and not using it parameterized. The third lesson is open sourcing it. So our code is actually open source. If you go to I should be able to see on internet. I should be able to see some of the things that we do. Open sourcing it allows us to add another constraint to development, so that when we're designing the application, we have to keep in mind that we can't do this because it's open source, and people would say that doesn't really make sense. So it allows us to drive our development. To give you an example, dotPH is actually 2 parts. You have the registry part, which registers the domain, and you have the end user part. If you go to dot.ph, that's the partner. That's the end user part, so to speak. So before we wanted to put the user accounts inside the API system, but we realized that was a wrong idea. So we weren't going to be able to realize that if we didn't actually open source and start asking questions, does this make sense for us? It's very easy to just put everything. So all the code is actually open source. One thing with CCTLDs is they want the data to be inside the country, and as well as if they're using a third-party application, they want it open source so that they can see if there's any backdoors to it or whatever. It's to be open source. All right, so that's pretty much all I have to share. 3 years of pain with 3 learnings. Please use respect among others.
Please use RSpec. What's the motivation for still using writing Cucumbers? Do you present it to like business owners? Like that language, or is like you get an advantage of Cucumber is, of course, you only need it, anybody can use it. But that's the big part, because I used to like be a big pusher for Cucumber. And that's only the moment of truth for me today, and I never actually showed my Cucumber tests one on development.
Actually, we don't exactly share the feature file itself, but we use it mostly for our purposes in terms of development. It's there to remind us on what to do. There is another. I can show you an example for that. Sometimes we deal with lots of scenarios, so having the different examples really helps. So we don't share it, but we do use it when we're reading and trying to understand what we built so far. So not sharing it with business people means that we can be a bit lax with the language. Sometimes we use.
So that was exactly the same conversation that we had. And then we just decided to bite on it. We're going to be loose about the syntax anyway. Let's just do feature specs.
Right. What we realized is that sometimes the unit test and the feature test would overlap. So what we do is we start with the feature file first and only add unit tests when necessary.
That's just we have an actual device layer that we acceptance tests.
We're also using JSON API, but not JSON API.
Do you have instances where you have unit tests, like, I guess it depends on the complexity of the product, pero then one of the issues you had was you would see emerging patterns with setup that would be in the unit test, but also in the feature set definitions.
Yes.
So when we submit our code for like duplication checks, it will get flagged. So that was one of the pushes towards going for cucumber. If you're going to write, like if you're going to share a module between your unit test and your feature set, cucumber tests. Jump. I'm not trying to tell you to make cucumber.
That's fine.
I kinda am, but yeah.
But not explicitly.
But not explicitly.
Yeah. Well, we don't run any of those checks, so that's where we don't know.
Oh.
But there are cases wherein they're shared. Like for example, in this project, it's called registry. It's actually just an API. So we have files such as post register in. We have files like this.
Yeah.
Pretty much just sends this JSON to the API. Sometimes the unit test also refers to it.
Yeah.
We have this file. We have this file. So you can do something like orders request, not JSON. It's to be a bit cute. Sometimes, but not always. Usually, if it happens, we're trying to do too much in the unit test and too little in the acceptance test.
Do you do integration tests?
No. The interesting thing with Cucumber is that it's fast enough that you don't really need to. We actually stopped doing controller tests
Oh yeah, we do.
because we realized that we're pretty much duplicating everything, so we stopped doing controller
I
tests.
guess the application is more like API interaction.
Yeah.
So you don't really have any like very heavy library based.
No. If ever you're going to check out, there's always, each project has this file. Just
Oh,
prepares everything for you, tells you that you need some stuff for it. Right. So, any more questions? Thank you.